Welcome everybody to the kickoff of the MICCAI Hackathon with the topic on how to bridge the gap to the clinics and move MICCAI methods towards clinical application. We are very glad that you tuned in today and attend our satellite event. What exactly is the MICCAI Hackathon? So first of all, it's quite a different format of a satellite event at the MICCAI conference that you are probably used to. It's not a workshop, nor is it a challenge, nor a tutorial, but an actual hackathon where people meet and work on a specific topic. And therefore, it's sort of a small community-based think tank with people collaborating and working together. So it's worth mentioning that this is already the second edition of the MICCAI Hackathon. Last year we had a different topic. So the topic of this year's edition is how to bridge the gap to the clinics and move MICCAI methods towards clinical application. We feel that MICCAI has encountered a tremendous growth over the last years regarding the size of the community and the success and the number of methods. So despite this growth, MICCAI ideas rarely find their way into clinical application. The cycle of the ideas and also methods often ends with the publication at the conference, as has been also discussed at the RSNA MICCAI panel at last year's MICCAI 2020. And we are glad to see that they also do the RSNA MICCAI panel this year again. So to not lose sight of the ultimate goal, which is the improvement of healthcare, we think it's worthwhile discussing how to bridge the gap to the clinic as a community. So the aim of the hackathon is therefore to raise awareness to the translational challenges within the MICCAI community, and as a participant to come up and as a community to come up with ideas and suggestions on how we could bridge this gap to the clinics. So the setting of the hackathon is actually pretty simple. Participants will meet and work on tasks related to the topic during a hackathon weekend. This weekend will be separate from the satellite events at MICCAI and will happen in 4 weeks on the weekend of the 23rd and 24th of October. During this virtual hackathon weekend, the participants will form teams based on their interests, work on tasks, aka the hacking, and present their contributions at the end of the hackathon. We would like to emphasize that everyone is welcome to participate. It doesn't matter whether you're a MICCAI researcher, a researcher from another community, or you are maybe working in the industry, or even are a clinician. Further, the level of seniority does also not matter, meaning you can participate as a student, a postdoc, or even as a professor, or whatever your position is. We think the hackathon is a unique opportunity to join as a community and to meet new people and to collaborate. So everyone is welcome to participate. The more diverse, the better. As already hinted, the MICCAI Hackathon has a two-stage format. So today we are at the kickoff event as part of the satellite events of MICCAI. And on the weekend of the 23rd and 24th of October, we will have a virtual hackathon weekend. We opted for this two-stage format to have a clear separation of the MICCAI conference and the hackathon weekend. So by doing so, attendees of the conference and the hackathon can get most out of the two events. Today at this kickoff, we will have two keynotes. We will present the task and also some organizational aspects. And during the hackathon weekend, we will have the team forming based on interests. Then we will have the actual hacking, so teams will work on tasks. We will have mentors who will join in dedicated sessions to provide guidance and inspiration to the participants. And at the end of the 24th of October at the evening, we will have presentations of the contributions by the participants, and we will also have an award ceremony. So it's worth mentioning that we have a total amount of $1,000 to be distributed to the top 3 contributions. So details regarding the hackathon weekend organizational aspects will be presented at 12:15 UTC or are available online at our website MICCAIHackathon.com. A few words on the organizing committee. We are 4 people in total. With me is sitting Alain Jungo, a postdoc at the University of Bern in Switzerland. From Portugal is joining Wilson Silva, a PhD student at the INESTEC and University of Porto. And from the Medical University of Vienna in Austria is Professor Georg Lams. And myself, I am Fabian Balsiger, a postdoc at the University Hospital of Bern in Switzerland. So regarding the schedule of today's kickoff, as already mentioned, we have 3 items on the agenda. We have 2 keynotes, and in a few minutes, Dr. Walter Welthus will join us for his keynote entitled Bridging the Gap to the Clinics, Implementing AI in the Clinical PACS, a bridge too far or too many bridges. So he is a radiologist at the University Medical Center of Utrecht in the Netherlands. And this keynote will be approximately 30 minutes, followed by Q&A. We then have a break of approximately 1 hour. And at 11 UTC, Professor Dr. Klaus Meyer-Hein will join us for his keynote entitled MICCAI to Market. And I think for most attendees, Klaus Meyer-Hein is well known as head of medical image computing division at the German Cancer Research Center. After the keynote of Klaus Meyer-Hein at 12:15 UTC, we will then present the tasks and some organizational aspects regarding the hackathon weekend. And as a little sneak peek, we have a diverse set of tasks from evaluation to brittleness, safety in AI, paper statistics, education, and also annotation and deployment of MICCAI methods. And of course, you're also free to choose your own task to work on. So join us at 12:15 to get to know more.
We will now start with a presentation of the tasks and organizational aspects related to the MICCAI Hackathon. So as a participant, you will work on a task related to bridging the gap to the clinics. We propose 7 defined tasks and an additional option where you have the opportunity to work on your own task. Our defined tasks were extracted from discussions with several researchers and industry players, some of whom will be mentors. Each task has a title and a general description, giving you an overall direction. Moreover, we already selected several subtasks for you to work on with the aim of providing you with some guidance. However, the subtasks do not need to be fully answered, and you can come up with new subtasks, given that they fall under the general task description. Associated with each task, there is also a mentor to guide you in the process and resources that we have already collected for you, and also categorization of the type of task. So discussion, coding, or experiment. Note that not all tasks have the final resources or do have a mentor. So as mentors, So as mentors, we are very thankful to Klaus Katz, to Christian Baumgartner, Silas Congetti, Miguel José Monteiro, and Richard McKinley. And as a participant, you will work on a task related to bridging the gap to the clinics. And for each of these tasks, there is like a mentor, and you can meet with them and discuss 3 to 4 times throughout the hackathon weekend with dedicated slots for interaction. So first task is related to deploying your own MICCAI method to the clinics. And while it's true that you cannot have your own MICCAI method actually running in the clinics, however, we propose you to simulate the process by deploying your MICCAI method as shadow mode application in the clinics, by integrating it with a picture archiving and communication system by the help of the Kapana platform. So you will deploy your MICCAI method as a shadow mode, and exemplary subtasks are to get familiar with Kapana and apply the NN unit on exemplary data, containerize your MICCAI method for inference to be used within Kapana, and investigate the anonymization of DICOM images. And this was already presented by Professor Meyer-Rein. And to guide you in this task, we will have Klaus Katz, who is a PhD student at DF KZ and a developer of Kapana. Also, this task falls under the category of experiment and coding. Our task 2 aims to bridge the gap to the clinics by moving us towards more clinically oriented evaluation. Oftentimes, evaluation metrics used, for instance, DICE, do not relate directly to a measure of clinical impact. So typically, this metric-based evaluation might not suffice to show or even overestimate the benefit for the clinical problem at hand. So you should identify and discuss means of evaluating and reporting results of AI methods to bridge the gap. Some exemplary subtasks are to propose ways to make the evaluation scenario more realistic, or how can we show that the proposed method works as intended in a clinical setting? Or also, how can we set up proper double-blind randomized controlled trials? Christian Baumgartner will be the mentor for this task. He is an independent research group leader at Tübingen University, developing machine learning methodologies that bridge the gap between ML theory and clinical applications. This task falls under the discussion category. So the third task aims to assess the brittleness of MICCAI papers in the clinical setting. The general description of the task is to analyze how a MICCAI method behaves in a clinical-like setting with realistic out-of-distribution cases, as clinicians often use extreme examples to validate an AI model, and are clinically realistic adversarial attacks. So realistic perturbations due to different scanners used, for instance. Exemplary subtasks are to identify possible sources of error when using a MICCAI model in the clinics, investigate the generation of clinically realistic out-of-distribution cases, or to build a tool for generating realistic out-of-distribution cases. So Silas Congetti is a global product manager at Siemens Healthineers, and his main goal is to bring AI-based solutions to healthcare and translating them to clinical use. He will be the mentor for this experiment and coding task. So the fourth task will also be mentored by Silas. And the goal here is to identify safety threats in medical decision support systems as we go as we move towards the cloud PACS systems and federated learning. So here the goal is how can we guarantee the safety of medical decision support systems? Are such systems robust to adversarial attacks, and could we deploy them to the cloud? And what could be issues of federated and continuous learning scenarios? So here is exemplary subtasks are to identify potential vulnerabilities for adversarial attacks, exploit these vulnerabilities in the pipeline by using simple examples, and mimic a federated learning scenario, introducing simple perturbations.
So the fifth task is about increasing the consistency and quality of annotations and translating methods to a new site, clinic, or problem. Annotations are generally required. These annotations are typically difficult to get and also very challenging to keep consistent across multiple annotators. Therefore, the question here is how could we increase the consistency and quality of annotations? Some subtasks might be to summarize the challenges of annotation policy standardization across multiple annotators to increase the consistency, or to discuss how to increase the annotation quality without extensive training and years of experience as we see it currently needed in the clinics. And also here, I think an idea is to run a proof of concept on cell data based on your ideas you have. This task covers an experimental aspect, so you will need to code also for the proof of concept, and it's based a lot on discussions. The mentor is Miguel Jose Monteiro, who is a data science lead at Mojo Diagnostics. He often faces these kind of questions in his work, and therefore is a perfect fit as a mentor. The sixth task is about education, because education might be key for bridging the gap. In this task, participants will identify and compile educational material for people on the other side of the gap, be it clinicians for MICCAI researchers or vice versa, in order to actually prevent misunderstandings and false expectations when translating a MICCAI method to a clinical-like setting. This task might be very interesting for MICCAI attendees with clinical backgrounds. It would be nice to see or hear their opinion about this educational gap, or what their opinion is from the technical side. And I think we can expect some interesting discussions from there. So exemplary subtasks are here trying to identify the needs of clinicians with respect to the MICCAI method, also to compile instruction material for clinicians that explain the principles of AI. That may be also to when you want to work with a clinical partner, that you actually have a common ground, that you explain what the requirements and possibilities or limitations of AA methods are. And also another subtask might be to identify the gaps between MICCAI methods or papers and the clinical needs, whether there is a gap in between there, and what we could do to actually narrow that gap a bit. This task is a discussion task and is mentored by Richard McKinley from the University Hospital of Bern. Richard is a lecturer for the program Artificial Intelligence in Medical Imaging at the SITEM Center in Bern, which aims at educating AI principles to clinicians and is therefore familiar with both sides, so the more technical and clinical side. The seventh task, as the participants, you analyze the clinical problems addressed by MICCAI papers. The task aims at capturing the momentary situation of the gap. Based on data from previous editions, you would extract as much information as possible, and regarding the clinical problems that are addressed and how they evolved over time. So subtasks could be to collect the longitudinal data from the proceedings and see how, like with word clustering, keywords clustering, how they evolved, if there was a change over time, or what you can see from that. Also, maybe the variety of tasks and clinical problems addressed by the MICCAI papers might be worth investigating. I think here the focus is also, as the last point indicates, to analyze and illustrate the statistics such that people actually understand the evolution and the problems that are addressed. And if you see some issues and challenges and have some propositions, it would be nice to discuss them as well. The task will involve coding, as you need to extract the data from the proceedings or other resources, and a lot of discussion on what you find from there. There is no mentor for this task since it involves analysis. You can, however, always interact with the organizers if you have questions. Then the bonus task, as Wilson already told, it's a do-it-yourself task where you could actually work on your own problem, on your own data as you wish. That could be something that actually bothers you for a while, or an idea you had and you just want to spend some time working on that idea in an informal and collaborative setting. You can also use one of our suggested data sets from the Cancer Imaging Archive. They're pretty interesting because the data has also resources beyond medical images and might therefore be closer to a clinical setting. So here I think it's important to just be creative, work on whatever you like, find some people that work with you in the resources of our the resources on the website. We'll have some of the TCI data sets that would be interesting to work on. The type of the task is experiments and coding, but that depends highly on what you're working and what your problem is. Now we move from the task to organization aspects. We see here we're slowly at the end of this kickoff event. The next date is the hackathon weekend on the 23rd and 24th October. I think what is important is that you register. The earlier the better for that event, and the registration can be done on our website. It's a participation button in yellow, so you can't miss it. The detailed information about how everything works, the platform, how the matching among teams will be sent out on October 7th. So you'll be informed once you're registered. And for the registration itself, here, that's the form you actually have to fill out. And in yellow, you see the things I will talk about. So you see the task preference, where you can choose which tasks you will be working on or you want to work on. You can also choose that any task might be suitable for you. Then the registration type, this is important. You can choose to work individually as a team. That is a predefined team with your colleagues or friends. And you can also register as to be matched into a team according to your preference. Important note here is that if you want to register as a team, each team member should register individually and use the same team name here. That's easier for us to actually do the matching directly. Also, it's possible to update your registration details. You will get a link when you register that you always can edit these fields. So if you want to change actually the task in next week or in 2 weeks, that's not an issue. Also, if you form a team during that period, you can do that easily. Regarding the hackathon weekend, so we will start at 9 a.m. UTC with a short welcome and some final team information and information. Then we'll do the hacking, the first hacking phase and with the mentoring sessions, and which will last until 6 p.m. UTC, where we would have the end of the first day, and we'll have some social events. We'll play some games or doing stuff other than coding and hacking. Then for those who don't like to sleep too much, there will be the overnight hacking. And we will meet the next morning, so the 4th of October at 9 a.m. again, to gather actually and answer some general questions that maybe participants faced. Then is the second hacking and mentoring session phase, which will be followed by the final presentations of the outcome, where each group presents their outcome at 5 p.m. and this will be followed by an awards ceremony. The awards, so the best contribution will get $500 in an Amazon voucher, and also a second and third place prize will be provided with $200, but that depends on the amount of contributions we'll get. 5 independent judges will grade the contributions and decide who gets awarded. They will grade on aspects of creativity, applicability, effort, and others that will be also defined, and you will be informed by email or on the website. We'd like to thank the sponsor for these awards or prizes, which is MICCAI, the Center for Artificial Intelligence in Medicine at the University of Bern. We also like to thank all of our sponsors for the support on making this event possible. If you have any questions, please visit our website. We have a details section where we have questions and some common questions and answers you might have. Also, you can always drop us a mail if you have some questions or propositions. You can DM us on Twitter, and the recorded material will be available on our YouTube channel. We would be happy to see you as a participant during the hackathon weekend. Thank you for joining this kickoff event. We will now stop the recording during the question session. Answers that might be of general interest will be added to the website afterwards.